introduce Amy Rees Anderson, who is a managing partner and founder of Rees Capital, an angel investment firm that provides entrepreneurs and business executives support and guidance. Prior to founding Rees Capital, Amy was the founder and CEO of MetaConnect Global, one of the largest cloud-based health information companies. In March 2012, Amy successfully led MetaConnect to being acquired for over $375 million. Upon selling her company, Amy founded IPOP Foundation, In Pursuit of Perfection, a charity focused on helping promote, educate, and perpetuate entrepreneurship as a pathway to self-reliance. Amy has been the recipient of many prestigious awards, including the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award, and tomorrow she is being inducted into the Utah Technology Council Hall of Fame. Amy serves on the board of numerous organizations, but the most important to her, I'm sure, is serving as the chair of Utah Valley University's National Advisory Board for the Woodbury School of Business. Please join me in welcoming Amy to the Reed and Christine Halliday Executive Lecture Series.
This is definitely the most important board I serve on. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, are we awake? Okay, so we're going to start with a question. By show of hands, I want to know, if I asked you what your future plan is for your career in life, how many of you, by show of hands, feel like this? You got it? You know what you want to do? Okay. How many of you are still feeling a little bit like this? Yeah, a lot more of you. Those who didn't raise your hand, there's a problem. Let me tell you a little bit about my background so I can jump into some things. But I grew up in a family of 10 kids, lived all over the country, Oregon, Washington, Michigan, Virginia, Tennessee, Texas, California, and then came out to Utah. My plan in life when I was your age was to come to BYU, marry that guy, and have like 10 kids. That was literally the plan. So I majored in dating in college. But life didn't quite go the way I planned it. When I came out, I did come out and get married very young. I was 17 when I started at BYU. Didn't even know how to balance a checkbook at the time. That's a true story. We'll talk about that later. But I got engaged as Provo. That's what you do. And got married, had 2 little kids, and found myself as a divorced single mom with 2 kids that had to support her family. So that is kind of how I was feeling about that time. And I had to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? How am I going to handle this situation? Not something I had planned for. One of the things that when people say, you know, what should you pursue in life? What should your career be? Well, there's a lot of questions that I think will help you to kind of figure that out. At least they helped me. A lot of it is looking at what are things you're good at? And if you don't know what you're good at, ask parents, ask friends, what do they think your natural talents and abilities are? Because everybody has some. Figure out what those are. And look at the connections you have access to, right? Look at the networks around you or the people your parents might have known or whatever it is. And what experiences have you had up until now that could potentially be pointing you in a direction, right? Growing up in high school, because we moved so much, I was able to get out of school really early each day and go to work in medical offices. So I started learning the medical industry. It wasn't because I had like this passion for the medical industry. It's just that was what my experiences were leading me into. And I had a knack for learning things very quickly. I was also ADD, so I got bored fast, which ended up helping me a lot in my career. I asked people, you know, when I asked for their advice on what I should do, they'd say, well, do something you love. Well, for me, that was bubble baths and shoe shopping. So doing something I love, I didn't know how to make money off it at that point in time, right? Another thing they'll tell you is do something you believe in. Now, this is actually an important one because when we believe in something, we tend to work much harder for it. Do we not? Is it easier to work hard for somebody else you care about than it is yourself? The women are all nodding yes. The men are like, you know. But it's important to look at something that you can have a belief in what you're doing, that it's beyond just yourself, and that will help you put more energy into it. The best advice I got, though, was from my grandfather. He's passed away now. But when I went and talked to him, he said, you know what, you got to get up, do something, do anything. Just make a start. And that is the most important part, you guys, is you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have every problem solved and every exact detail ironed out before you start. Because a lot of times what happens is just by starting something, it starts to lead you in a direction and it starts to point you at things you might not have otherwise thought about. So my favorite saying is God can't drive a parked car, right? You got to get going for things to be able to start to show up in your life, okay? So just do something. Now, one of the things that I think is super helpful to do is to ask yourself this question. What would I do if I wasn't afraid? So if you were to say to yourself, what would I do career-wise if I had no fear, if I wasn't afraid? Okay. The answer to that may very well be the right answer. So I'm going to talk for a second about goal posters. How many of you guys think goal posters are hokey or silly or goofy? And you're not going to offend me. Thank you for being honest. Anyone else? Only one person in the room thinks they're hokey? That's awesome. But although I don't believe all of you. But I'm going to talk about my goal poster. I sat down at that age and I was like, I'm going to sit down and make a goal poster. right? I'd always been a big believer in goal setting. So I sat down, cut out some pictures from magazines and whatnot back then, and created a goal poster. I was like, well, I don't know, I can't be a doctor or lawyer because I don't have that degree. So I'm gonna be an entrepreneur because that's what you do when you have no idea what you're gonna do with your life. And it just sounds good to have a title to it. So I decided I wanna be an entrepreneur, but if I'm gonna be one, I wanna be a really good one and win Entrepreneur of the Year from Ernst & Young. And I wanna meet Bill Gates because Microsoft Windows was brand new back then, which tells you how old I am. And I wanted to be on the cover of magazines, right? So I made this poster and I hung it on the wall. And then I didn't think about it again for about 7, 8 years, okay? And we're gonna come back to that goal poster. Now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, but how do I find an opportunity? People that wanna start their own. Is there anyone in here that wants to pursue entrepreneurship, just out of curiosity? A lot of you guys, good. Okay, so a lot of people say, well, how do you figure out what company to start, right? How do I figure out what to start? Where do I get a good idea from? Number one, your idea does not have to be unique, okay? You've ever heard the saying, the second mouse gets the cheese, right? Sometimes you can find a company that's already out there doing something, but when you see it and you're like, oh, they could do this and this and this better, that's a new company, right? And sometimes it's better to be the second guy because someone's already proved the concept. So that's one way. Another way is really pay attention to what people say. Pay attention to discontent. If people complain about a problem a lot, and then more and more and more and more people are complaining about that problem, that is what's called a business opportunity. Because if you can figure out a solution for that problem, then you can start a company and make money off it. And the more people that complain, the bigger the market size, and the market size matters. And the reason it matters is because if I have a product and there's only 50 people in the universe that are gonna ever need that product, I gotta sell all 50 of them and I'm still only gonna make this much money. But if I find something like, for me, I was in healthcare, right? Healthcare, everyone needs healthcare. That's a huge market, and I only have to capture a little tiny percentage of that market to make money and be successful. So look how big the problem is and the impact it's gonna have, and remember to incorporate your God-given talents. I told you I was ADD, I got bored really easy. That ended up being a huge talent for me because I was working in medical offices, and every day when I would work the front desk and manage the office, people would come in with their insurance information and I'd have to go and pull their chart and make a photocopy. It was the dumbest thing to have to do in the day, and I hated it. And I thought, why can't you just, Windows is new, why can't they just scan stuff in and not have to do this? Bingo, there was an opportunity, right? Because no one had done that, which led me to starting my first company. So I started my very first business back in 1996. I started it in a 10 by 10 room in my house. There was only room for one little desk, and then the first guy I hired to work for me sat on a little footstool. It was like this little tiny miniature footstool at the same desk, and that guy, by the way, ended up staying with me through all the different businesses I did until the final one when I sold it in 2012. He was my CIO when we sold. So when you find good people, hang on to them. But that company, that's how I started my entrepreneurial journey. Okay, now we're gonna jump into a couple of things that I think would be good for you guys to hear for whatever journey you're gonna take. Overcoming fear. This is a big one, and it's a hard one. No one likes to talk about it. For me, you have to realize here I was, this young, divorced, single mom of 2 kids, college dropout, that had all the things going against her, right? And I cared what other people thought. And that was a problem, because that was holding me back a lot, right? Because what would you think of all those things? Nothing fit the mold of what I was supposed to be, right? So I had all this fear about what other people thought. And the more I worried about what other people thought, the less I tried to do the things I thought I should do, because I was scared. Like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna look stupid. I don't wanna look stupid in front of anybody, right? And they're gonna think I'm dumb for trying. They're gonna be like, who does she think she is going into technology when she has no degree or no experience for that matter, right? She likes to shoe shop, that's about it. And she wanted to get married. So those were my life goals, okay? So I had to learn that how other people see me is not what I need to focus on, because I can't control that. You could be the best person in the universe and someone's not gonna like you, and you have no control over that. But what you do have control over is, how do I feel about myself? Or in my case, I believe in God, so how do I feel like God thinks of me? And if I can focus on what that one thing is that matters, that really matters, that I can control, that's how you overcome that fear. Sorry. Okay, the next one was how we see ourselves. This is a little trick I've learned. You guys have heard the term fake it till you make it, right? It truly works, by the way. I learned that there's 2 pictures of ourselves. There's the one we see when we look in the mirror, usually not a very positive one. A lot of times we usually dig ourselves down, right? And then there's the picture of the way that you wish you could see yourself, or that person you wish you could be. And I learned this little trick that if I wasn't feeling, if I was insecure or didn't feel strong enough to do something, I could close my eyes and pretend to be this person, because she could do anything, right? And I mean, who doesn't want to be her? So the men are like, us, well, sorry, but she's amazing. So when I was scared, I would literally, before I had to go do something really scary or intimidating, I would close my eyes, be like, hey, turn into Wonder Woman. You're gonna just be here for the next hour while you do this. When you're done, you can go back to being insecure Amy again. And that was the little trick I used. And the more I did that, for you men, it could be Batman, whatever your dude is. But the more you do that, the more you start to feel the confidence, right? Because that's the only way to overcome that fear, is to do it. And the only way to be able to do it when you're terrified is to just go in your mind into that other person, do what you need to do, and then you can go back to being insecure again. And you'll slowly, over time, start to gain that confidence. Okay? Next thing is I had to overcome the fear of a dumb idea, right? That's one of the biggest holdups, especially for those who say they do want to go into entrepreneurship. But even if you're not an entrepreneur, if you're an executive in a company or working in a company and you have an idea and you're like, well, I'm not going to share it, because what if it's stupid? Because if it was a good idea, somebody would have thought of this before, right? How many of you guys have had an idea and then be like, well, I'm not going to say it, because clearly if it was good, some other really smart person out there would have done it, right? I mean, look at all the different, like Post-it notes. Come on, we've all had that idea once in a, things like that, dumb ideas. But let's look at this. How many of you guys have heard of the Slanket? The Snuggie, there's all the different brands now, knockoffs, yeah. Dumb idea, millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars later. Not such a dumb idea, right? It got started because a kid was playing video games in college and he was cold. So he called his mom, because that's what you guys do. And his mom gave him a sleeping bag and cut holes in it for his arms. But then his arms got cold when he played, because he had, do this. And so she sewed sleeves on it, and that is how the Slanket was born. Okay, dumb idea. What about goggles? Goggles for your dog. Every PetSmart across the country is carrying them, making a lot of money. Dumb idea. Okay, pillow pets. Oh, okay, I guarantee. How many of you in this room have a pillow pet and do not lie? Because I have 2 kids your age and I know exactly. We have like 5 of them at our house. Okay, dumb idea. Over $300 million a year in sales. Is it dumb if it's selling? Now let's look at the flip of that. There's people that have had these genius minds that have come up with these brilliant ideas. They never sell at all. Dumb idea. If it makes money, it's a good business. It's not a dumb idea. Okay? Also, you can take a negative and turn it into a positive. There was a guy that got engaged to a girl. She broke it off. Broke his heart. He went to go take the ring back, and they said they were going to give him pennies on the dollar, and he was furious. So he decided to take that negative experience and turn it into a business. And he started a company called I Do Now, I Don't, where you can go sell the ring for full value, and you can post a video of how she ruined your life. Okay, dumb idea. It's making money. Next thing is overcoming the fear of failure. This is usually, besides public speaking, like people's number 2 biggest fear in life is they don't want to fail. And that kind of ties back to the partial is what other people think, and we already decided we're not going to worry about that, right? We can't control that. But the other thing is making mistakes. Now, here I was a CEO running a technology company in healthcare when almost no women in tech, and by the way, I didn't realize there was no women in tech back then, until I went to a conference in Vegas, the CES show, and it was like all men, and the only girls were booth babes, and I was like, wow, there's no other girls in technology. So that was like a wow for me. I had no idea, right? But here I was running this successful company, and I had 2 little kids, single mom, and that alarm just kept going off we kept hearing this beep in the house. And I was like, what is that beep? It's so annoying. Could not figure out what that beep was for like a year. We learned to tune that thing out. Till I had a brother come visit, and he's like, dude, your fire alarm batteries, need to get replaced. And I was like, is that what that sound is? That's amazing, right? Okay, stupid, yes, very dumb on my part, okay? But not really, because no one ever taught me that, so really, whose fault is it? And I mean, I did every dumb thing you could do. I didn't drain the sprinklers and froze the water pipes the first year. I mean, all this stupid stuff, right? Stuff that's kind of like, duh. I was not kidding about bouncing checks. When I was in college at BYU, I was 17. I bounced so many checks because I thought if there was checks in the checkbook, that there must be money somewhere, right? They gave me a whole thing of checks. No one said there's a limit to what I could write, so I just kept writing them out until I bounced so many they had to call my dad to fly in town because I was underage and they couldn't do anything to me, which ended up being a blessing. They have forgiven me since. Zions Bank and I are very tight now. Okay, we're good. But, there's all kinds of mistakes you're going to make. But it's what you do when you make the mistakes that really matters, you guys, because you are going to make mistakes. That is how you're going to learn. But how you handle it is the difference between success and failure. Okay, when you make a mistake, as a teenager, I would get grounded all the time for missing curfew. And I'd always make up excuses, and then I'd get grounded worse. But then one time I come home, and I owned it. And I was like, you know what, you're right, I'm late. Totally my bad. Shouldn't have been late. Here's what I'm going to do in the future to fix it. Won't happen again. Okay, go to bed. And I was like, dude, I didn't even get in trouble. This is awesome, right? And it taught me a super valuable lesson that I applied to business all through the years, which was when we made a mistake as a company, we made a lot of mistakes. Okay, don't get me wrong, we made a ton of mistakes because we were learning, and that's what you do when you learn. But we would pick up the phone and call the customer and say, hey, we need you to know something. There's a mistake that happened. I know you haven't caught it yet, but we want you to know we made it. Here's what happened. Here's what we're going to do to fix it, and here's what we've done to make sure we never make that mistake again. And you know what they said? No one yelled at us. No one grounded us as a customer. They said, wow, thank you. Thank you for being honest with us. That means a lot to us, because they weren't used to that. You're going to find that people will forgive you so quick if you just own it and be responsible and don't try to justify it or make excuses about it, okay? You're gonna make mistakes. And the bottom line is you didn't fail if you learned something that made you smarter in the future. So it's only a failure if you don't learn anything that made you smarter in the future, okay? But don't make mistakes with integrity. You can make other mistakes, not integrity though, okay? Keep that one in check. We'll talk about why later. I had a boat, okay? I was a single mom. My kids had gone out to Lake Powell. They loved wakeboarding, and it totally boosted their self-worth when they were little. And I thought, I need to buy a boat. And I'm like, but dude, I'm a girl. I don't want to take care of a boat. Those are big. That's like a man job as far as I'm concerned. And I did not want to take care of it because I was scared, right? But I was like, oh, my kids love it. I'm just going to buy a boat. So I did. Took it out on the lake. We were out. I was on a date at the time. My kids are out there, and all of a sudden the boat stops, and we're trying to figure out why it stopped because it shouldn't have stopped. And you know what? It started to sink. And the guy's like, did you put the plug in the boat? And I'm like, plug? What do you mean plug? Why would there be a hole in a boat that you got to plug? It's a boat. It's going in the water. Like, who designed this? A man? Just kidding. Just kidding. A woman would not have put a hole in something going in the water, for the record. So the boat starts to sink. Now, look, that's going to happen. Do you think that was humiliating? Oh, yes. Because there's going to be days you feel like your butt's wedged in that tree, and there's just nothing you could do but wait for somebody to come bail you out or tow your sinking boat back into shore. Now, that is going to happen. How you handle it is what matters. My attitude is you just go buy the pink boat you really wanted then, see? Because I really believe that things turn out the best for those who make the best of the way things turn out, okay? Those mistakes, when they happen, may seem like they're the end of the universe, but I promise you 99% of the mistakes lead you to something better, like the pink boat. See, I would never have gotten that boat if that other one hadn't sunk, so really, it's kind of a cool thing. And that happens in business. You're going to have business deals go south, and you're going to be like, I wanted this job, or I wanted this to work out, or I wanted this customer, and you're going to think it's the end of the world. And then you're going to find out, wow, because that didn't work out, I ended up doing this other thing that I never thought I would do. And it made way more success off of that. So when your hut's on fire and you're like desperate and thinking all's lost in the world, it could just be a smoke signal to some boat coming to save you. Don't get so discouraged. Okay? The biggest thing is you got to overcome the fears if you're ever going to get to fabulous. You can feel it. I feel fear all the time still to this day, but I don't ever let it stop me. It's okay to feel it. It's good. It makes you humble, right? It makes you go, okay, I need help from a higher power. But then don't let it stop you. Keep going. I'm going to tell you a couple quick things about MetaConnect Global. This was the company that I sold. We had almost 2,000 employees worldwide in 4 different locations. And I'm just going to share a couple of quick secrets to our success. The number one rule in our company was do what's right, let the consequence follow. Integrity is everything, you guys. And it's not just a feel-good everything where you're like, oh, she's just saying that because of her value system. No, no, no. It is a financially hugely beneficial asset you have. Probably your most valuable financial asset is your integrity. Because when people know that you're honest, they want to do business with you. Deals get done. Time lengths of contracts get shortened. What needs to be in writing is a lot less when they trust you. When I went to go sell my company, because we had a reputation of integrity, we sold it like that for a huge amount of money, right? It makes a big financial difference, so it's not just feel good. Your success will come and go. Your integrity, it's forever, but it is a valuable asset for you. And the reason we had on the wall, do what's right, let the consequence follow, was because so many times you guys are going to be faced with circumstances where, let me give you an example. I'm submitting a request for proposal to a customer. I want to land the sale. I know the competitor is going to submit it and they're going to lie. They're going to lie because they've lied on every other request for proposal. And so in my mind, it's really easy to go, well, I have to lie too, because then it looks like they're bigger than we are, but they're not. So we have to keep them honest by we need to lie. Do you see what I'm trying to say? We've all been there. We've all done those little mind games with ourselves. You're going to have those circumstances where you feel like to make things right in the end, I have to do the wrong thing, right? And you'll want to justify it. The reality is sometimes doing the right thing does mean you're going to lose. And you have to be okay with that. That's why we put on let the consequence follow. It was our way to remember, I got to be okay with it. I did the right thing. I'm not going to lie on the proposal. If they get the business, so be it. I still did the right thing. And that's something you have to decide to do going into it, and I promise you it will pay off in droves. Next thing is that it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. Okay, great doesn't have to cost a lot of money. For those who wanted to be entrepreneurs, and it felt like there was a lot of you guys, you know, with our company, we had to come up with things to try to get people to want to come work there because we were a healthcare technology company. So I had to hire employees and say, can't bring your phone to work, can't get on the internet. Goes over super well with people your age. Okay, and I had to find a way to make it so that would be appealing to them. So I was like, okay, how do you make that? How do you make working somewhere really secure sexy? Well, working at the CIA is pretty sexy. You don't get to take your phone to work there, right? So we decided, let's do a whole spy theme in the company. We didn't spend money on this. We just came up with something creative. We changed titles from the finance department to the Treasury Enforcement Agency because it sounds like so much cooler to work there, right? And we did that with the whole company. And we even did physical decor and changed our logos. And we did everything to kind of reflect that whole spy theme look and feel. Screensavers. We did a star on the wall. If you killed it on the job, you got your star on the wall, right? These were cheap little things. But when you use creativity, it really can help you get a lot done without spending a lot of money, okay? We gave everyone these MCG t-shirts. Medicanet Global was the name of the company. We thought those are cool because they look like the spy theme, right? It was a Christmas gift. I'm gonna come back to what happened with these shirts, by the way. When it came to getting marketing ideas, I didn't go pay a marketing agency. I would go to Alta High School students because my kids were going to Alta at the time, and I'd say, here's a Little Caesars pizza, $4.99. If you'll give me an idea for this marketing campaign. And you will be amazed at how good of marketers young kids are, especially junior high, high school. They're brilliant. You guys are actually old now. You're not quite as cool, but they know how to get likes better than you, faster than you, and more than you. So the bottom line is you can get a lot of really awesome ideas from a bunch of young people, okay? And it doesn't even cost a residual licensing fee. But this was one of the billboards they came up with for we were hiring, and they came up with this is what awesome looks like as a campaign that we used, right? Super successful, didn't cost me anything. The other thing is we were trying to do a recruiting thing. My attitude was I had learned over the years with employees that hiring for skill and teaching values did not work. So we had to flip-flop it and hire for their values and teach them a skill. Because I can teach you how to do a skill. I can't really teach you how to be honest or work hard or go the extra mile for people. You either had it at that age or you didn't. So I needed a way to get people who wouldn't have applied at our company otherwise to come and apply. Right? If you heard we were a healthcare tech company, you'd be like, well, I don't have healthcare tech experience. I'm not going to come apply there. Well, I needed you to. So I went to my employees and I said, hey, do me a favor. We need to do a campaign. I don't want to spend money because I'm super cheap on everything but my shoes. And I said, so send me your dumbest talent video. And let's make some commercials to play at the movie theater. And I'm going to show you a couple of the commercials we came up with. There's music on these, but I don't think we have it turned on, so it's okay. It doesn't have words, so you're fine. You can tell by the production quality how much money we spent on these videos. I'll show you another one. And there was a whole slew of these that got played at the movie theaters before the movie started. Okay, didn't spend a lot of money on this incredibly successful hiring campaign because all of a sudden people that didn't know anything about our company were like, dude, if that guy can get hired, I can totally get hired there. Right? We would do little things like putting signs on bathroom stalls at companies where we knew the company employed good values. Things that said, if you're reading this right now, you're clearly a good multitasker, and it just so happens we're hiring multitaskers. So now hiring, right? Super inexpensive, a lot less than paying a recruiter 30% of their starting salary. We had people do signs in front of the building that said, shame on you for not applying at Medicanet, because we were in a cul-de-sac and there was a lot of tech companies there, and we thought, what a great way to attract talent, right? It's not illegal, by the way, as long as someone holds a sign. We know because our neighbors called the cops on us, so definitely not illegal. We repurposed everything. So I bought a company from Medicanet, a personal health record company during the time we were there, and they had this old RV that I was like, what are we gonna do with this RV? Well, we wrapped it and made it a mobile hiring center, and we would go park it in front of people's companies and hand out men in black, hand out hiring cards to their employees, right? So it was kind of a fun thing to do. Communication is probably the one thing that I learned is the most valuable in everything I learned as a leader and as a CEO and as an entrepreneur. Okay, real quick, I want to teach you a quick thing about communication. There's a big difference in men and women on our personal lives in many ways with communication. True or not true? Yeah, anyone married here so you know what I'm talking about? Okay, we communicate very differently. However, in business, we're a lot more similar. Okay, so this is an experiment that was done where they took a big group of men and women and put them into an auditorium and they said, wait here. And they took them to the next room and asked them two questions. One, what can you tell me about the people around you? And two was how many exits were there in the room and where were they located? Okay, the women knew everything about number one, the men knew nothing. The men knew everything about number two. They knew where the exits were, how many, all that stuff. Women knew nothing. What they learned from that experiment, and a whole series of others they did, is that before men are capable of engaging in a conversation in their personal lives, they have to know three things. Number one, is it gonna be painful? Number two, how long is it gonna take? And number three, when you're done talking, what are you gonna want from me? What's my exit? Okay, men, who's a married man in this room? Raise your hand. If your wife comes up to you and says, can we talk? Or, I need you to come to Costco with me. Do you go to kind of a dark place, a little dark, like the vortex of never getting out of this? It's a trap, yeah? But if your wife comes up to you and says, hey, on Saturday, I need you to spend 10 minutes with me at Costco. We're just gonna pick up a tent, and then when we're done, you can play video games with your buddies. You guys like, I'm in? Yeah. Because I told them how painful it's gonna be, what it's gonna take, and what's their exit. okay? And that's how women, by the way, in the room, that will save your relationships. This works so well in marriage, okay? But in business, what's really interesting is that everybody, both men and women, are that way. So if you're gonna make a sales call to someone, if someone calls my phone and leaves a message and says, Amy, can you give me a call back? Guess where I go to? That dark vortex of I'm never getting out of this conversation. But if someone leaves a message and says, Amy, I have one quick question, it'll take 2 minutes, and when I'm done, then I don't need anything else from you. I'm like, I'll totally call you back, okay? So keep that in mind as you guys are looking to make contacts or sales or get a job interview or whatever. Always let people know those 3 things up front, and you'll have people engage much more readily with you, okay? Another difference between men and women in our personal lives, right? If I tell my husband, baby, you look good, he pretty much thinks he looks good for the rest of the time unless I tell him otherwise, okay? If he tells me I look good, well, he's got to tell me that every morning, because every night I go to bed and wake up ugly, fat, and unlovable, and it's his job the next day to validate me and help me feel good about myself again. But I will forget again tomorrow night and start again. Ladies, am I right? Yes. But men, they don't, no matter how bad they look, they're like, I look good. Look at all this, baby, right? Okay, so we're very, very different in our personal lives that way. But when it comes to the business world, men need validation every day, just like women do, all the time, okay? Both men and women need it in their professional lives. And so as a leader or a manager, whatever it is your job to communicate and be consistent. It cannot just be once. You can't say, I told you did a good job yesterday, you should just remember that today, because they don't. Men and women, neither of us, we all need the validation at work. And so you've got to validate, because if you don't, people get crazy. They get crazy, and the monsters in their head play games, and they do stuff that's like wacko spadacko. If you want to keep everybody like calm and doing the right things, then you validate them every day. Be very communicative. Let them know the things they're doing right. Let them know what success looks like. At MetaConnect, as we grew, it got hard for me because I had like 2,000 employees worldwide. It was so hard because I was like, how can I possibly communicate with everybody? And the ones that were close to me knew who I was and what my values were, but the further you got out from me, they had no idea. So what I learned was people think that having knowledge is power, so they'll make crap up. They'll just make stuff up and be like, oh, Amy thinks this, and then all their coworkers are like, oh, you know Amy, well, then you must know. And it was nothing that I thought. So when you don't communicate, someone will do it for you, and it's probably not your message. So you have got to be willing to communicate yourselves, okay? And men, that'll save your marriages if you hear me on this one. Don't let your wife's friends communicate on your behalf. You communicate, okay? So at MetaConnect, I decided to start a daily blog. And it had to be daily because I knew they needed consistency. And it couldn't be an I'm your boss and I'm super smart and you're lucky to work here. No, that does not work. People do not get behind you when you're like that, okay? If you act arrogant, no one wants to support you because they think you already think you know it all. Why do you need me? Well, guess what? You need people to be successful. You are never gonna do it alone. Nobody can do it alone. I didn't do anything I did alone. I hired super smart people that were way smarter than I am and just told them how great they were every day, and they made me super rich. So that is the trick, okay? It's not that you have to be the smartest one in the room, and you gotta be able to be real with people, be authentic. You're not stupid because you say, I don't know. It means I don't know, but I'd love to hear. And guess what? Really smart people that have been there, when you say to them, hey, I don't know much about what's going on over in the Middle East, but I know that you're really good at that. Is that something you could tell me about? And guess what? People light up because they're so excited to impart the knowledge they have. So you will get people on board by being real and authentic. So my blog that I would write for these employees every day could be anything from, hey, I'm really worried about this problem we have, and I could use some ideas to solve this because I really don't have all the answers here. Or it could be, hey, don't put your pants on right out of the dryer because that is seriously damaging to your self-esteem. Little tip, right? My husband did something dumb, my employees knew about it. Don't let your wife's car run out of gas. It's just not wise. But there's things like that. But it would also be like, hey, I screwed up. I want you guys to know I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I hired an employee. He didn't live the values. I told you the values mattered, but he was really smart, and I didn't want to fire him because he was so smart. I was like, I don't want to lose his talent, but that was not a good justification because the values matter the most. And I am sorry that I took so long to handle that situation, and I will not do that again. And people would be like, hey, that's awesome. Let's help her. Let's help her succeed. That's how you get people to get around you. Consistency, they have to trust it, and it has to be very open and authentic. The other thing is make it bi-directional. With my blog, originally it was one way, and then all of a sudden I was like, if they're saying stuff about me, isn't it better if I know it? Because then I can actually address it. It doesn't help me to not know what's being said about you. You may think it's happier that way, but it's actually not, right? Because stuff's happening whether you know it or not. So we made it bi-directional, and all of a sudden, it was scary though. I'm like, what if they say, I hate Amy, she's a terrible boss? That would really suck. But you know what? At least I would know about it, and I could be like, hey, I'm so sorry you feel that way. What can I do to help you feel like I don't suck, right? We made it bi-directional. Do that with your communication. Be willing to hear the feedback. Take the criticism. We also made it inclusive because the best ideas will come from the most random places. We would tell the employees, hey, if you have a good idea about anything in the company, I don't care what your job is, post it. And then everyone would vote for it. We would look at the top voted ideas and then implement them. And then that made us really successful because there was some sweet ideas and the wisdom of the crowd was really powerful. Okay, so don't rule people out as, well, you're not in this major. You don't know. It doesn't have to be in that area to know. People are just creative, so just seek their ideas. The other thing is making it personal. You know, with our customers, when they first logged into MetaConnect, they got our little Shutterstock lady that we paid, I don't know how much money for. Not for her, for the picture, that's illegal. But we had that little picture, but it was really impersonal, right? And we realized that's not really fun to look at, so we decided to replace that with the picture of the account managers. And now all of a sudden when they logged in, because our clients were all over the country, it was like, oh, I know my account manager. And then we were like, you know what, they're coming to this thing every day. I like going to Google every day because they switch it up. So we decided, let's take fun pictures of the account managers doing crazy stuff and have all these different days where we post pictures that'll just make it fun and engaging. And clients loved it. Okay, they loved it because it was fun. The other thing is we tried to make it relevant. How many of you guys get newsletters from airlines and stuff that you never ever open in your email box? Yeah, why? Because we don't care. Because we got stuff to do and those are boring. And we realized that. No one was opening our MetaConnect newsletter. They weren't getting read at all. We were like, this is stupid. Why are we wasting all this time writing these really professional newsletters that nobody cares about? And we thought, you know what, let's switch it up. We had football season coming up. It was going to be a big game, and we were like, you know, what if instead of sending out a technical newsletter, we gave ideas for guys on how to get your girlfriend or wife to watch the game with you? You tell her about the personal lives of the players. So let's list out which player's dating who, which Kardashian have they gone out with, which guy had to buy his wife a bigger carat diamond because of, you know, an indiscretion. And we gave all these tips in a newsletter, no joke, and sent it to our customers, along with a recipe for how to make stuffing with stovetop and then add celery last minute, and everyone thinks you're like a culinary genius, right? Because it's homemade. Okay, so we sent that out. Our clients went wild. They were opening the newsletter, not just opening it, but forwarding it to their friends at other companies that were potential customers for us. And then they would call us and be like, you guys are hilarious. Make it fun. It didn't matter that it wasn't about MetaConnect technical stuff. They liked MetaConnect. That's what mattered. And people want to do business with people they like. Right? So we would give them gifts ideas and all that kind of stuff. The other thing is you want to make it meaningful. And that's not with just customers, it's with anybody. The most valued gift is a handwritten note. It's the only thing we all save, right? Everybody has a box at home of handwritten cards. We really value that. Take the time to give a little handwritten card. They will remember you. If you go in for a job interview and you want to get remembered, send a little thank you card handwritten that says, thank you for taking time out of your day to interview me. I really appreciated this about your company or whatever. If you do those kind of things, you will stand out in a major way, because not enough people take the time, okay? When we started doing all these things at MetaConnect, when I started to communicate, and I'd tried all kinds of stuff in the past years of trying to be the best kind of leader, and then when I finally started to communicate, our revenue line was like this at the company, and our expenses were tracking with it, and all of a sudden in 2010, when I started to write that blog every single day, we weren't doing anything else different, I was just communicating every day and being very real, our expense line went like this, which gave a massive margin for the company and helped us sell for a really good multiple. And that was because all these employees that used to just think of it as a job thought of it as a lot more than a job now. They felt like it was something they were part of and that they were valued. I would talk about God in my blog, right? I didn't grow up in Utah. You don't talk about religion outside of Utah, right? So I was scared to talk about religion ever at work. And finally, one of my board members said, well, if you believe, in fact, you guys heard him speak earlier this year, Alan Hall, stud. Love that guy. He said, talk about God if you believe in God. And I was like, I don't want anyone to get offended. He's like, then don't do it in an offensive way. And I was like, okay. So I would in my blog, I'd even write about the fact, look, I got to make a hard choice for the company. And you know what? I respect whatever God you want to, Mother Nature, the universe, whatever you believe in, we all have a higher power of somewhat that we believe in. So do me a favor and just pray for me to make the right choice because it matters and I want to do the right thing for you guys. No one ever got offended, never got sued, okay? It's okay to be real. And it's okay to share who you are, because that's part of who I am, right? My faith is very much part of who I am. And so when all those things happened, those t-shirts I'd given them for Christmas, right? They started, one of the day they put on the discussion board, they said, hey, can we have other stuff besides t-shirts? And I was like, what kind of other stuff? And like 153 ideas got posted. They wanted baby onesies. They wanted belt buckles for the rodeo. We had an office in Ephraim, where they had gym bags, and they wanted all this stuff. And I was like, dude, I'm not paying for that, because I'm cheap. And they were like, we'll pay for it. And I was like, what? You guys want to pay to wear the logo of our company on your stuff out of your pocket? And they're like, yeah, we love it. It's cool. We love being part of this. And I was like, okay. So we started an online store for the employees, sold over $40,000 of goods that are like at wholesale cost in a few months, and MetaConnect shirts and sweatshirts and gym bags were plastered all over the place. You would see them everywhere you went. Huge advertising from my company. Helped us recruit really easily. That happened because we created something with communication. Okay, so never ever undervalue communicating with people and letting them know who you are and being real. And when you treat people good, in our case, I treated my employees good, they turned around and treated the customers good, the customers then referred more business, and all of those things led to a $377 million exit, which is pretty freaking fabulous, if I do say so myself. So, a couple of last minute recommendations I want to give you guys. How many of you guys think of you, what time are we done, 20 after? How many of you guys consider yourself lucky? Raise your hand. Like, do you think of yourself a lucky person? Okay. There's a bunch of studies by a guy named Stuart Weitzman. If you get time, you might want to read them. They're really fascinating. They did a study where they took people and they brought them in a thing to do an application, and they said, one of the questions was, do you consider yourself lucky, yes or no? Then they were sent into a room to look at a newspaper, and they were supposed to count the number of photos in the newspaper and then bring it back. Well, on page 2 of the newspaper, under one of the pictures, it said, there is X number of photos in this paper, go ahead and put the paper down and collect X number of dollars as a bonus. Everybody who had said they thought they were lucky before going in the room on their application noticed the picture on page 2 and collected the bonus. Everyone who didn't think they were lucky didn't collect the bonus. And they do a whole bunch of these studies that showed the same result. And what they led to was the result that said when people consider themselves lucky, they do actually generate their own good fortune. So for example, I got on an airplane. Anytime I sit on a plane and I'm sitting next to someone, I'm like, first of all, I am a very lucky person, period. So if I'm sitting by you, you're gonna do something that's really lucky for my life, so we're about to talk. Okay, I am looking for what's the luck in everything. Even when things go bad, I am looking for, man, what's this gonna lead me to that I had no idea it was gonna lead me to? Right, so when that girl dumps you or that guy doesn't ask you out, dude, is blessing leading you somewhere so much hotter, okay? Remember that. There's something better ahead. If you consider yourself lucky, you become a self-fulfilling prophecy because you're looking for those things and your attitude is different. So if you didn't think you were lucky, you better start, okay? The next thing is to network yourself. Don't be afraid to go talk to people. It's super intimidating, I realize that. I was like a girl in a tech world with a bunch of guys, college dropout, no tech experience whatsoever, and I was scared. That's the truth. So I would sit in the room at these UTC events that you brought up, the Utah Technology Council, these networking events, and I didn't talk to anybody. I just was like, just let the event get over. And then one day someone came and said, hey, how are you doing? I'd love to get to know you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love you right now. Not my outside voice, my inside voice. But I was like, that was so grateful that they would talk to me, and it made me feel so special. And on the way home, I was like, I wonder how many people in that room felt like I felt. I wonder how many people were insecure like I was. And was I offended that guy said hi to me? No. So from now on, I'm gonna go up and say, hi, how are you doing? So good to meet you, love your jacket, right? And you're gonna be amazed that people are so grateful to talk to you. So don't be afraid to network yourself. No one's ever gonna be offended because you said hi and were nice, ever. And if they are, then they're a freak, so don't worry about it, okay? Everybody needs to put the courage. The other thing is put yourself in the running. I had a guy in the mailroom that applied for a position as one of the director jobs, and I was like, I don't even know who this guy is, because he had just started. And I was a little shocked he applied, okay? But guess what happened? He didn't get the job that time. But every time a position came up, guess whose name was in my head? That guy. And eventually, in a couple years, that guy was running the whole department. Never would have happened if he hadn't put himself in the running. You might not get picked, but you're gonna get noticed, and it's gonna lead to other things. So do it for the purpose of getting noticed, not for necessarily getting an outcome. And it will lead you places. Avoid negativity. If you're hanging out with dogs, you're gonna get fleas. My dad's favorite saying when I was growing up. Don't hang out with negative people because you will be branded by bosses and potential hiring companies and friends as a negative person. So avoid the negativity, okay? And be a Tigger, not an ER, because no one wants to hang out with you on a Friday night, am I right? Super depressing. Everybody wants to be around people who are fun. So just be a likable person, because people want to do business with you if you're likable. Okay, we're gonna come back to, we're skipping that one. We're gonna come back to this one and then my goal poster. I kept a sign on my wall that said everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. When things go wrong, remember that. Okay, I know it seems like everything's like earth-shattering when you're young. It's not. You're not gonna care about who didn't go out with you last week, I promise you. It all gets better. So just don't ever look at it as the end. Okay, the goal poster. Where was my one person that didn't think they were back there? Okay, I wanna talk to you about my goal poster. I wanna see how you feel when I tell you. That goal poster that I made and didn't look at for another 8 years. I was moving offices 8 years later, and I was like, holy cow, everything on that goal poster's happened. I'd been on the cover of Inc. magazine. I'd won Entrepreneur of the Year. I'd met Steve Ballmer. That counts because Bill Gates retired at the time. So all those things had happened, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. And like I did at the time, I was like, oh, coincidence, right? And Okay, then my dad came to me and he said, hey, your mom and I have been called to go serve in a mission in the Temple Presidency in Ghana, Africa. So we're leaving, which sucked for me because who's going to change the fire alarm batteries? And I was like, really? And he's like, listen, I want you to come over there. I'm a sealer in our temple, which means that he can perform marriages. He's like, I want you to come out there and get sealed. And I'm like, that'd be sweet, except for I don't even have a boyfriend and I'm running a huge company and I got 2 little kids. So nice try, Dad. But I put it on the poster. And the next thing you know, I'm in Ghana, Africa getting married. So now I'm like, dude, time to make a bigger poster. Am I right? Right? So I did. I came home 10 years ago, got married. Came home and made a poster, and I put on there, you know what? I want to sell my company for a ton of money. I want to start an investment firm that I can invest in other entrepreneurs and help them grow their businesses. I want to do stuff to help people get self-reliant by becoming entrepreneurs and encourage them to look at that as a pathway to self-reliance. I want to go visit the 7 wonders of the world, and I didn't know there was more than 7. I just saw the postcard and put it on the poster, not knowing there's like 7 of all kinds of stuff. So why even call it 7? I don't know, but that's what it is. And the plane, because like, let's just be honest, like who doesn't want the plane? So I want you to see what had happened over the next 10 years. I ended up going to those places so far on that goal poster, not because I had planned it by the goal poster, but because random circumstances took me there. I had a brother living in one place, an office in another, a board that went and visited another, okay? Getting a little creepy now, isn't it? Sold my company for a lot of money, started Rees Capital to angel invest in other firms, started my foundation with my family so I could help encourage people to look at entrepreneurship as a path to self-reliance. Got time with my family again. Those are my 2 kids and my husband. And then I sold the company. I was like, okay, gosh, this goal poster is almost done. Like, what do I do now? So then I sat down and made a dream house goal poster, okay? And it wasn't just like a poster. It was like an entire PowerPoint presentation, let's be honest. And this is just some of the pictures from my PowerPoint. This is legit. The pictures, that's Mariah Carey's closet, if the ladies are wondering. I want you to see, this was on the goal poster. This is the house that I built, okay? Dude, if I had time to show you the whole thing, let's just have a moment for the closet. Angels sing when I walk in. So that is the kind of power this goal poster, this visualization has. I don't know why it works, it just does. So then my husband's like, you gotta make another poster. And I was like, I don't even know what to put on. Now I'm scared. I mean, my daughter made one to mock me and she wanted to get lost on her poster. The child has been lost her entire life. She literally cannot not. So don't mess with the poster mojo. But I sat down, I was like, okay, it always bugged me I didn't finish my education, but I wasn't gonna go back to college because like I was already teaching in the master's classes at some of the colleges. So I was like, that's awkward. So I was like, but it really did bug me. Like it really was one of those things that I'm sad. Finish your education. And ladies, it is as important for you to finish as you men, okay? Period. Everybody needs to finish. And everyone should be encouraging each other to finish. It's not because you'll necessarily, I can't promise you you'll make more money. I can promise you you'll have a lot more opportunities because of it. Okay, it will open up doors. It will be easier chances of things. So just finish, just check the box and be done with it, okay? Get it done as quick as you can and get out. Start your life. But I put on there, okay, I'll put a few things. I wanted to see both my son and daughter get married in the temple. I wanted them to have a bunch of grandbabies. I thought Europe would be cool. I'd never been to Europe. I thought, I've been writing a blog since 2010, have never missed a day, so for 7 years, and it's now public. You guys can anytime go check it out. And I always blog about what I'm learning in my life so that I can give back. And I put the education on there, even though I was like, I'm not gonna go back. And my husband's like, just stick it on there then if it matters. So I did. Okay, a couple months later, I got a phone call that I was being given an honorary PhD. Okay, seriously, the poster thing, I'm not even kidding you. It was like super creepy. Okay, honorary PhD. My family, those are all the places we went in Europe over that next year. Those are the pictures to prove that I actually was in those places. My son got married in the temple. My daughter we're still working on. And I became a grandma. But I like to say glamma because I'm like way too cool to be a grandma yet. So just in the last couple months, I became a grandma. So at a publishing company, I write for Forbes, and they contacted me and said they want to publish a book for me. So the poster works. I don't know why, it just does. So I want all of you guys to promise me you're going to go home and make a poster. And even if you only make it to mock me, right? Even if you want to make it so you can prove to me it's not going to work, make the poster, take a digital picture, send it to me. I've been collecting posters from all over the world. And I have amazing stories from people in their posters because they always follow up and tell me a year later, you won't believe what happened in my life, right? I've had people that did intend to mock me with the poster. And that's why they sent it to me. And I had one guy that said he was a filmmaker in New York, and he wanted to prove to me that he was going to make a film on how stupid it was. And a year later, I got an apology letter. And he's like, dude, seriously, that poster worked. And now I've got a new one, and I want to win the Cannes Film Festival. I was like, whoa, go big. 4 months later, that guy won the Cannes Film Festival. So he's definitely in the book. Take the poster. It's worth trying, okay? The last thing I'll leave you with is, you guys, what you see in your head of yourself is that up in the corner. You see that little picture in your head. But what God thinks your life's gonna be is a masterpiece, and you're gonna be amazed. That little girl that bounced checks up the wazoo because she thought if you had checks, you had money, has gone on to do some pretty cool things that I guarantee my parents are like, whoa, what happened here, right? I never expected it, they didn't expect it. You're capable of way more than you give yourself credit for. So when you make that poster, go big. If you ever need to get in touch with me, if I can ever be of help to you guys, I still write that daily blog. You can find it at amyreesanderson.com and then go to the blog, or you can follow me on those social media things. If I can help you, you can email me. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you guys because I am so excited to see what you're going to accomplish in your life. Thank you for letting me come. And then questions? Questions, anyone? Sorry, I didn't leave a ton of time for questions, but yes.
Did you ever get your plane?
We charter right now. My husband's making me charter the plane for so many hours a year till I prove we're actually going to take enough trips to justify it. So we charter, and it's so much nicer than. I hate flying on commercial airlines. Sorry. Oh, always. I mean, we were afraid of losing the client. We were afraid of losing, but what we found was, number one, if it's an honest truth, it's an honest truth. But by telling them, the chances of them wanting to sue us were so much less, because they're going to find out. One way or the other, stuff gets out. It is so much better for you to be the person to say, we made a mistake, here's how we made it, here's what we're going to do to fix it, because you immediately take away their desire to punish you, right? And you immediately show that you can be trusted. So is it scary? Yeah, that's where that let the consequence follow. We were still doing the right thing to tell the customer we screwed up. And if the consequence was we got sued, well, then we got sued. But at least we could know we did the right thing. Other questions?
If you're writing a dictionary definition of integrity, what is it to you?
It is how you act even when nobody's not looking. Like even when no one sees what you're doing, that's the person you are, right? And that's where it goes back to that, I care what God thinks, right? Nobody else. So if I'm doing stuff, like even if no one's in the room, he knows if I'm lying or cheating or stealing or whatever, right? So it keeps you really disciplined in making sure who you're being is the same person at all times. Not one person on Sunday and someone else the rest of the week, right? It's the person who has integrity in all times, all situations, no matter what.
I was looking at Rees Capital Online. The two people that are underneath your team have been with you since the very beginning. David Chapman, Chittister, and I can't remember.
Shani Alsop, uh-huh.
Yeah, they've been with you for over 15 years. Why is that important to you? Or what does that mean to you to have those people with you?
Well, and Eric Quigley was he was the guy that started on that little footstool. He had just gotten off a mission for the church, and he was like 21 years star with me, and he was with me until we sold the last company, and multiple companies. It's everything, because when you find people you trust who are also willing to live with integrity and police you so that you do, because like I said, all of us can play the mind games. Having people around you that will say, Amy, that's not right. Like Dave and Shani will call me out like this. Eric called me out like this. And I needed that because I want to be better. I don't want people to just say yes to me. How's that going to make me better, right? That means I know everything and I don't need anybody. That's wrong. So having people that will tell me the truth, even when it hurts, it really helps you to become a better person. So when you find those people, those are your real friends. Not the ones who are going to tell you everything's wonderful and glorious, but the friend that's going to be like, yo, that outfit, no, not the right outfit for you. Like you need that friend, right? And that's the kind of friends I have. And that's why I work with them. And I love being the boss because you get to pick those people to surround yourself with. Yes?
So as an angel investor, going to what you're doing now, what do you look for in companies? What qualities do you look for in companies you're going to invest in?
It is about the person. Not even the product, you guys, it's the person. Because a good person can make a bad product better. A bad person's going to screw up the best of products. So we look for the person. And we don't want someone who acts like they know it all. If you come in and you're like, oh, no, I'm not worried about the competition. No, because like we're the only ones that have ever done this. And, oh, I'm not even worried about this. No, we've got this. Then we're like, okay, no, you just are clueless. But if you come in and you say, hey, I realize there's this competitor. Yeah, it is a threat. And we're going to be very mindful of it because we think they do this and this well. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, now I get you, right? So don't feel like you have to know everything. Don't say, I don't know, without being willing to go say, I'll go check, right? Always say, I'm going to find out and come back to you, and then really come back to them. But don't pretend you know it if you don't. They're not expecting you to know it all. If you act like you do, they know you. They're like, your credibility's shot. So you're looking for someone who's passionate about their idea, but who's willing to learn, who's teachable, and who's really realistic about what the issues are. And no arrogance. Like confidence is good, arrogance is bad. There's a big difference between the two.
Can we just say thank you to Amy?